Hello everyone and welcome to the Shadow Realm. Today we're going to showcase my Mythical Beast Endymion Deck Profile. This version of the deck plays without Magician Souls and the Jester Confit package since I don't have access to it yet. But you can still find success even without it. But before we start, a friendly reminder to check the links in the description below if you want to support the channel in any way, shape or form, and also leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Also keep in mind that when I get access to some cards from Brothers of Legends, I will be updating this deck profile soon. Now without any further ado, let's dive right into the deck profile. We're gonna start things off with the Endymion engine. We're playing of course triple copies of Endymion, the Mighty Master of Magic. This card can special summon itself from the scale if you remove 6 spell counters from the field, and then you can destroy cards on the field up to the number of spell counters your cards have on the field, and then place spell counters on this card for every card destroyed. Also, while this card has spell counters, it cannot be destroyed or targeted by card effects, and it also can return a card with spell counters to negate a spell or trap effect in the field. And of course, we're also playing the single copy of Servant of Endymion. This is going to be the best low scale that we have in the deck, and we can remove 3 spell counters from it, so we can special summon her from the scale alongside the monster that we can put spell counters on, and then place 1 spell counter to each. Then moving on, we're also playing 2 copies of Reflection of Endymion. This is an amazing low scale that we have many ways to search for. You can remove 3 spell counters from her while on the scale, and then special summon her alongside the monster from your hand that you can put spell counters on, and then bounce a card your opponent's control. And for the high scale of the Endymion engine, we're playing double copies of Master of Endymion. While this card is on the scale, you can remove 3 spell counters from it, and then special summon it alongside the monster that is face up in your extra deck that you can put spell counters on. It's also a high scale that's very important for the deck. Then we're of course playing 1 copy of the Citadel of Endymion. Whenever a spell is activated, this card gets a spell counter, and then you can activate the effects of monsters that require spell counters by removing spell counters from this card instead. Also, if a card with spell counters gets destroyed, you can put the spell counter on this card. And if this card would be destroyed, you can remove a spell counter instead. And the last card in the Endymion engine is 3 copies of Spell Power Mastery. When you activate this card, you can search any Endymion card from your deck, and then you can place a spell counter on the field, meaning that if you have already a card that gains a spell counter, it will get 2 spell counters from its activation. Sadly, it's only once per turn. Now moving on to the Mythical Beast engine, we're playing triple copies of Mythical Beast Master Cerberus. This card is great going first since it gives you a free body on the field, and going second can be amazing because it can banish your problematic monsters your opponent controls. If it's the only card you have in the scale, you can destroy it and then search any Mythical Beast that you want. And while on the field, you can remove 4 spell counters from this card, and then target 1 monster your opponent controlled, banish it, and then gain attack equal to its original attack. Going second, this effect can be very handy because all you need is this alongside another monster and OTK your opponent. And then the card that we are searching with the effect of Master Cerberus is Mythical Beast Jackal King. While this card is the only face-up card in your Pendulum zone, you can destroy it and then special summon a monster from your face-up extra deck, meaning that if you see Mythical Beast Master Cerberus in your hand, you can special summon him for free. And also this card allows us to play around in Nibiru because every time a spell is activated, this card gains 2 spell counters, and then you can remove 2 spell counters from any card in the field, and then negate and destroy any monster that activated its effect. And that's once per turn per copy. As for the ones of the Mythical Beast, is 1 copy of Mythical Beast Jackal and 1 copy of Mythical Beast Garuda. If it's the only card face up in your Pendulum zone, you can destroy it and then destroy a spell trap on the field. And if your opponent will normal or special summon a monster while you have this card in your hand, you can remove 3 spell counters from the field, special summon this card, and then bounce that monster back to your opponent's hand. That's an amazing interruption that no one expects. Then an amazing consistency card is triple copies of Mythical Institution. Every time a Mythical Beast Pendulum monster gets destroyed by battle or card effect, these cards get 2 spell counters. And then once per turn, you can remove spell counters from anywhere from the field, and then search for a monster that has a level equal to the spell counter that you removed. Also, if this card will be destroyed by a card effect, you can remove a spell counter instead. That wraps up the Mythical Beast engine. Now moving on to the most generic Pendulum monsters, we're playing triple copies of Magical Abductor. Magical Abductor is the great low-scale monster that you have in the deck. This card gets a spell counter every time a spell is activated, and you can remove 3 spell counters from this card in the scale to search for any Pendulum monster that you need. This is a much needed consistency card. Then for the generic high scale, we're playing triple copies of Chronograph Sorcerer and the 1 copy of Time Gazer Magician. You usually want to destroy Chronograph Sorcerer in the scale and then special summon a Time Gazer Magician from your deck. So this way you want to generate bodies so you can go into your link plays without committing to your normal summon. But he also acts as a great high scale. And then the spice of the deck is triple copies of Fairytale Luna. Luna is an amazing card that can search herself or a reflection of Endymion, and it also applies a lot of pressure because it can bounce back with your opponent's resources, or at least burn one of their negates. So in this version of the deck, this card is really important because you don't have to play many copies of Reflection of Endymion. And then of course we're playing a single copy of Blue Boy, 1 copy of Spellbook of Knowledge, and 1 copy of Spellbook of Secrets. We use these cards to generate advantage and at the same time draw cards in the process. Usually these cards also act as a great hand drop magnet, and we usually want to search these cards with Crowley that we have in the extra deck. Also, we want to use them first before activating desires. Then for the many one-offs in the deck, we're playing one copy of Magician's Right Hand, one copy of Instant Fusion, and one copy of Into the Void. All of them gives us the spell counters that we need. Continuing with the one-off trend, we're playing one copy of Terraforming, one copy of Cult by the Grave, and the spice of the deck, one copy of Necro Valley. In most cases, we don't care about our graveyard, so Necro Valley doesn't affect us at all. At the same time, it also destroys many meta decks of the format, especially Tri Brigade, Drythrone, or Phantom Knights. Alternatively, you can play Floodgate Field spell like Zombie World. Moving on, since we want to get more spell counters while getting more cards in our hand, we're playing triple copies of Pot of Desires. Keep in mind that first you want to search your one-offs like Servant of Endymion or special summon the Time Guess and Magician from the deck, because otherwise you have the danger to balancing those one-offs. Otherwise, this card is really powerful and allows you to dig deeper into your deck. Now let's move on to the extra deck. We're playing a single copy of IP Masquerena, one copy of Crossip, and one copy of Nightmare Phoenix. Crossip and Masquerena are really important because they give you the downwards arrow that you need in order to pendulum summon monsters from your hand and extra deck, and Masquerena can be very great, especially as an interruption during your opponent's turn. And moving on to the rest of the extra deck, we're playing a single copy of Crowley and one copy of Daybreaker. Daybreaker can be very handy because of its downwards arrows and because it can get spell counters when a spellcaster is special summoned to its arrows, and then it can destroy a card on the field. As for Crowley, it allows us to search for a spellbook ending, and also it has an effect where we can normal summon a spellcaster monster without tributing. Both of these are quite essential in the extra deck. Moving on to the rest of our cards, we're playing a single copy of Selene the Master Magician and one copy of Nightmare Unicorn. Since this deck plays inherently many spellcasters, Selene is very beneficial because it allows us to revive spellcasters from the graveyard and also link Lamp easily into our access code. And Nightmare Unicorn is really great because it allows us to salve back our opponent's resources. Now moving on to our link 3s, we're playing a single copy of Apollousa Above the Goddess, one copy of Access Code Talker, and one copy of Saryuja the Skuldred. Saryuja can be very handy, especially in some situations that we want to search deeper into our deck and find some pieces that we want to special summon. Access Code Talker is great for closing games, and Apollousa is really easy to make. Since we can make her early in our combos, we can protect our board from cards like Nibiru. And as for the link 5s in the extra deck, I'm playing a single copy of Underworld Goddess of the Closed World because it allows us to link off our opponent's problematic threats, especially when we have Masquerena on the field. We don't have a problem swarming the field with monsters. Now for the flex spot in the extra deck, I'm playing a single copy of Thammer 38 Doom Harbinger because in some situations we can hard make it using 2 Master Cerberus. But if you have another copy of Selene, I highly suggest you swapping out for that. Now rounding up our extra deck, I'm playing a single copy of Odai's Absolute Dragon and one copy of Odai's Vortex Dragon. We have so many level 7s in the deck, so we can easily mate Absolute Dragon and then link him off, so when it's into the graveyard we can special summon Odai's Vortex Dragon, so we can have another powerful Omen negate on the field. And the last copy in the extra deck is one copy of Millennium Mice Restrict. This is our instant fusion target, and in the scenario that we have Crossip and Odai's Vortex Dragon, we can revive him back from the graveyard and we can have another interruption on the field. And if this card stays during your opponent's turn, it will be a very problematic threat for them. Now moving on to the side deck, we're playing triple copies of Denko Seka. If you're going against a trap matchup, this would definitely be a blowout since your opponent will not be able to activate their trap cards or set other spell or trap cards on the field. Since you don't require to set any spell or trap cards, this is one-sided Floodgate. Now moving on to our board breakers, we're playing triple copies of Lava Golem. Most of the meta decks in this format special summon at least 2 powerful threats on the field, so Lava Golem can deal with them at once. The only drawback with this card is that it requires your normal summon, but post side deck you side out all your monsters that require to be normal summon, for example Luna or your Blue Boy package. Continuing the board breaker trend, we're playing triple copies of Dark Ruler No More. Since we're in a Pendulum deck, we don't have a privilege to play a card like Forbidden Droplets, but this card does the same job in most scenarios without requiring to use cards from your hand. Now moving on, a very powerful and really important card for the deck is triple copies of Cosmic Cyclone. Post side deck we don't want to lose against Imperial Order or Anti-Spell Fragrance, so we want to have chainable spells that we can remove those threats from the field. We're also siding 2 copies of Necro Valley. As I mentioned earlier, we don't care about our graveyard, but many decks in this format struggle to play against this card, but we don't care about back row removal because we have Endymion on the field to protect it. And the last card in the side deck is one copy of Red Reboot. We want to have the upper hand against a trap matchup, and this card allows us to do so. And that essentially wraps up today's deck profile. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Also, if you want to support the channel directly, there's links in the description below. Also, if you want to join our awesome community in the Discord, you can find the link there as well. I'm definitely looking to improve this deck in the future, so make sure you stay tuned for an updated deck profile. Until next time, make sure to stay safe, and I will see you all in the Shadow Realm.